what's up you guys, this is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on the Daily Grind, I didn't necessarily want to bog you down with another like Rhino Prime unvaulting video because I actually went ahead and already did that, so I'll leave a card up there, but I did want to touch on Boltor Prime and Ankyros Prime. So, for those of you who didn't catch yesterday's video on the Mag Prime unvaulting, I wanted to go ahead and point out this image right here that was shown on DevStream 94. Now, as you can see, Rhino Prime is going to be one of the two primes that will be unvaulted this summer. Again, don't quite know the release dates on that, but they did say this summer, and it's like June. So it should be pretty gosh darn soon. But as you can see here, we've got Rhino Prime, Ankyros Prime, and Boltor Prime, as well as you can see, like, I think it's like right here. It looks like the Rhino Prime SANDR sticking out from the background, so I figured we'd go ahead and take a look at some of those today. So just a real quick overview for those who might have missed the original Rhino Prime unvaulting video. As you can see right here, Rhino actually gets an armor boost from 190 up to 275, and his sprint speed goes from 0.95 up to 1.0. Now if you're lucky enough to get yourself an Arcane Vanguard helmet that can actually boost his sprint speed all the way up to, I think it's like 1.25 or something like that, or 1.15, which puts him on equal ground with Loki, which is pretty damn incredible. Now let's take a quick look at his SANDR. So this is the Rhino Prime SANDR that was pictured in the graphic that we saw earlier. As many of you know, this is one of my least favorite Prime SANDRs. Now, I always hear this shit like Rob doesn't criticize DE, but this, I've been bitching about this SANDR since it was released, legitimately. And as you guys know, one of my big pet peeves is when they put metal objects on things, but give it the texture of rubber. And I've always said that this to me kind of looks like, you know, a floppy tongue or like a really flaccid penis. I'm not super into it whatsoever, but you know what? Just because I don't like it doesn't mean that you won't like it. Maybe you'll find some cool color combinations that work really well for you, or maybe you're a collector and you didn't get your hands on this to begin with, so now you have your opportunity. How about for me? Not necessarily my cup of tea. Alright, so per usual, we have swapped things out for the Billy killing testing team. And I wanted to go ahead and compare stats real quick, but I wanted to ask you a question first. For some of these older weapons, I don't really know if anybody actually gives a crap how much of an upgrade it is to the Boltor, because I don't think that anybody's actually using the Boltor. Now, maybe if it was a more recent weapon that got an upgrade, they would care, but I don't know. Let me know how you feel about some of these comparisons to older weapons, if it even matters to begin with, or if you just want to look at the weapon itself and see how good it is. Now, as you can see, it's got a boost to its accuracy, which is fantastic because this is a projectile-based weapon. Now, off of the top of my head, I do believe it's also got a flight speed increase, which will further boost that accuracy, because as you guys know, with projectile-based weapons, you usually have to lead your targets a little bit. Next upgrade we've got is a critical multiplier upgrade, and I'm kind of like, you've got a 5% crit chance, is that like necessary? But I mean, you know, I'll take a buff where I can get a buff. There's also a fire rate upgrade and a reload speed upgrade, which is really kind of minuscule. There's all just like these little tiny things that get shifted around. I want you to take notice of one thing though. It does have a 10% status chance, which is fairly low, but because of the fact that the rest of its supplemental stats just are not really there, it's kind of like, okay, status is all we got to work with, so let's work with it. And the last bit is a shift. It's got a damage boost, but it's also got a shift to its IPS. It no longer has any slashing whatsoever, which, you know, a part of me is kind of like, I like 2.5 slashing to begin with wasn't really that much to lose. It's really just now a puncture and impact weapon, which is kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build real fast. So like I said, we are trying to work with what we've got. So we use a lot of the base damage pumpers. Shred is always great when it comes to like a fully automatic weapon to kind of like barrel through groups. As you can see, I've kind of pumped up the corrosive in there, and that's mainly because of the fact that the only status that we really have, or the only we don't have very much status to work with in the to begin with, so kind of putting more status on it and having the status spread beyond corrosive when we're dealing with armored targets is a little bit like, I don't necessarily know if it's a good idea. But due to the fact that we're only dealing with 2 IPSs, since we're only completing with 2 IPSs, it's actually not that terrible because of the fact that, you know, there's only two other damage types to worry about getting procs off of. So it's a little bit focused. It's a little bit focused, and I will be real with you. I actually don't hate this weapon. I don't hate it. I play tested it, and I was like, this isn't as bad as I remember it. As you can see, it is pretty gosh darn accurate. However, as with all corrosive stuff, you kind of have to wait. Yep, you kind of have to wait a little bit to really see it do its work, because it's the corrosive. We're relying on the. Ooh, he just splattered. I did remember that from the playtesting. So as you can see right there, it did eat up a lot of ammo, but I don't remember it being that as good as that. I remember it being worse. My body legitimately remembers it being worse than that. So I'm kind of like, oh, this isn't as terrible as I remember it to be. The only thing that you kind of do have to worry about is the occasional impact proc, which tends to knock them backwards and will mess with your headshots. So as you can see right there, I think consistently we're gonna need about 3 clips in order to cause them to explode in a rain of body parts, which, you know, is a little bit entertaining. Now clearly the Boltor is a little bit of an older weapon, and it doesn't, as you can see right here, it just doesn't have the supplemental stats to really carry it through to make it a beast. But as I had said in the previous video about things like the Rhino Prime, it will see you through the star chart because of the fact that this thing does actually pack a punch, you know what I mean, when you're not dealing with crazy armored targets. Because the fact that its feature is the base damage, that base damage will see you through practically all of the star chart. Don't shoot me. Ah, you didn't see me. Okay, cool. And he's dead. I'm counting that as dead. Okay, so moving along, we've got the Ankyros Prime, and as you can see here, it's got a boost to its attack speed, an 8-point boost to its base damage, and a 5% increase to its status chance, making this actually surprisingly not terrible. Now, the one thing that I do want to point out about this is that it does have a base of impact damage, which means that you are going to see a lot of movement from your enemies. Now, when it comes to fisting your enemies, you really don't want them to move around too much because you need to be within fisting range to get the job done. Now, I actually have Gaia's Tragedy on, but I want to toss on Seismic Palm because in this case, style does matter. Now, as you can see, I'm running a hybrid between a status and crit build, and that's kind of trying to make the most of everything that we've got going on here, especially because these sparring weapons are very, very quick. I know that I think when I was talking about Rhino Prime, I was talking about how many hits it takes to kill an enemy, but with sparring weapons, these things move so quickly. Ooh, I want some more energy. It's okay, just take a hit, just take a hit. No, not like a drug reference. Not like a drug reference. But legitimately, it's moves like that and kind of like... We're gonna try that again. We're gonna try that again. It's moves like that and like impact things and knockdowns and like the leaps from all of these sparring things that really kind of make it difficult because of the limited range of these weapons. It makes it really, really difficult because as you can see there, a lot of them have access to knockdowns or finishers that can actually take out enemies fairly quick depending on the combos that you are using. And I think that's the same thing with the... Okay, I think sparring is fist, and then there's like hands and feet, right? And the hands and feet one, it's like if you use their charge attack... I will say, this is entertaining as all hell. But with the hands and feet one, if you use a charge attack and your kick lands, your kick will actually open them up to a finisher. It's a little bit different here, but a lot of the kind of either ground finisher moves or finisher moves are not too difficult to hit, depending on the style of weapon that you're using. See, I was actually able to do that repeatedly. I'm going to try to not go for that combo real quick, and then we're going to move into Gaia's Tragedy. And the real big reason that I wanted to show you that one is because it's a great combo if you can land it. However, it can be... We ran into this last time. I don't know where you went. Are you gone forever? No, he's here now. Oh, see, like I said, there's a lot of movement in these... There's a lot of movement. Come on, just do it. Well, there you go. That's enough of Seismic Palm. we're gonna X-nay that one. I mean, clearly, as you can see, it works. It's quite seismic. It does the job. But let's go ahead and take a look at Gaia's Tragedy real quick, because I want to show you the combo off of there. And that's kind of like what it boils down to, mainly because of the fact that it's not just dealing with the weapon itself, but it's also dealing with the combos. So knowing the combos, and as many of you guys know, I am a big fan. I am a big fan of what is it called? I'm a big fan of using Prime Fury over using using things like Berserker, and that's mainly because of the fact that using those things gives you a more consistent fire rate on these weapons. And that's kind of like the hardest thing, is when you have very, very acrobatic moves and you are jumping all over the place. Now, I know some of you guys are like, I don't want to deal with this kind of shit, and that's completely fair. But, you know, sometimes you gotta mix things up. So this is the combo that I really like. You see, you get like all of those, and then you get the knockdowns, and then you do it again. Let's see if I can do it again. Right there, that's the combo that you really want, because you can build up your combo counter very, very quickly, and you can take these guys down pretty fast. And that's the thing when it comes down to like sword combos and all of those other kind of combos, you don't necessarily get access to such fast hitting moves. You might get more access to like faster, what is it called? You might get access to like higher melee combo counters, but the thing is, or melee multipliers, but the fact is, when you're running around with something like Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds, and you've got Drifting Contact on, you know, sometimes you want to make the most of the amount of hits that you get. So again, this is just that one. Let's try that one more time. Oh no! Well, that did something too. But as you can see, all of these combos are extremely... And there you go, that's pretty much how you win. That's how you win with these weapons. So you've seen how it performs, and it's really up to you to want to put up with it. I think my biggest gripe with it is the fact that it's impact based, and even if you are getting your combos in, if you get an impact proc off of it, you tend to knock the enemy out of the way of your next few hits, which can be a bit frustrating. For testing purposes, it's a little bit of a crapper. But, you know, when you actually get into missions, you're just gonna knock enemies into walls, and you can kind of like trap them in corners and whatnot. But that pretty much shows off its performance. So all in all, to wrap things up, Boltor Prime, not as bad as I remember it, however, not fantastic either. And when I say not fantastic, I mean like not fantastic for like super high-end stuff. Again, I'm testing against 150s, it's not necessarily something that you're gonna run into every day. Against like level 100s, it should do fine-ish. I don't think that it's gonna be like a massively like mowing down killer of the world at the highest end of the sorties, but I don't think that it's gonna perform terribly either. The Ankyros Prime, it can put out a good amount of damage if you can land your hits. So if you're a fan of the sparring like stances, I think it'll be a great one for you. It's actually pretty darn good in its category. However, at the same time, it is impact based, which tends to like jostle enemies around. And as you guys know, fist weapons don't necessarily have all of the range in the world, which can make it a bit hard to land all of your hits, especially when you have like those super fast jabby combos. Like, that's a lot of hits to ramp up your melee combo counter, and if you miss that, it's like a feel bad moment. However, as you saw with, I believe it was Seismic Palm, there is a pretty easy finisher combo to kind of like get your rocks off to. So that about does it. No gameplay this time around, mainly because of the fact that I've done gameplay with Rhino Prime before, and you've seen a whole bunch of gameplay with Boltor Prime. There's nothing too fancy or crazy about it, and I pretty much showed you two different combos with the Ankyros Prime, so you should be all set. So I guess we're gonna leave it here. Let me know how you guys feel about Rhino Prime. Let me know how you feel about the Noru Prime SANDR. Let me know, do you feel the same way I feel about it? Why you gotta make it a tongue, DE? Why you gotta make it a tongue? It hurts my soul every single time. And let me know if you're mildly jizzing over like the knuckles, the glowing knuckles on the Ankyros Prime. Cause I'll be honest with you, I hadn't channeled with it up until like this portion of the video, and I was kind of like, oh, That's kind of sexy. I'm kind of into that. So yeah, so let me know how you feel about all of that. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.